Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandy Grace, the author of a retelling of the legend of Robin Hood known as Return to Sherwood. Also the sequel, Return to Grace. So, I'm going to be doing a reading vlog today. For the celebration of Return to Grace on the 9th, when it is published, I'm going to be doing a live stream here on my YouTube channel. And I've invited several other authors who are also publishing books soon to be on the stream and to talk about their books. We'll be very excited about all of the books being published, either in December or in early 2021 or whatever. We'll just celebrate all the books. So the book that I'm reading today is the book from one of the ladies who has agreed to be on this live stream with me. I don't know what it is about the pages in this book, but they keep falling out. I am enjoying this book so far, but there have been a couple of things that, and I don't, I'm always a negative Nelly when I do my reading vlogs, so I'm going to try not to focus on that quite as much, but there have been a couple of things that I just sort of cringed at, this being the biggest one. So we have a brother who is watching his sister eat a cinnamon roll. And he describes her licking her full lips, which just makes me uncomfortable. I'm not a teenage boy. I don't know, maybe they pay attention to such details of their sisters. I think that's the part that's creeping me out. I think I would be disturbed on a different sort of level if it wasn't his sister in a like, okay, Marston, get your mind out of the gutter sort of way, but it's his sister, which makes it more disturbing. I'm disturbed. I don't like this description. But I think that's what I've been bothered by the most so far, 6 chapters in. It's just every once in a while there's a description of something that I'm just like, why did we say it like that? But overall, it's been pretty enjoyable. I am 6 chapters in and have no idea what's going on. But it's a very interesting story. Marston is having these dreams, and they're terrifying because he's dying in them. And then they start to, like, be real. He's seeing instances of his dreams in his real life, and he's running into people or, you know, animals, or having bruises on his body and various things of like his dreams are bleeding into reality, and it's very interesting, and I want to know why and what's happening. I finished The Keeper and I enjoyed it. It was a very intriguing plot, and I'm interested to see the rest of Marston's story. I do have some thoughts though. This book wasn't actually very easy for me to get into. I took halfway through the book before I was fully invested in the story, and I want to talk about why I think that was. We aren't really given the space to care about Marston and who he is, or understand why we should care about him and his storyline at the beginning of the book. And I'm going to use an example of another book with a sort of similar storyline-ish, so that I can try and explain what I mean. So in The Keeper, we're following a high school student who is getting glimpses of this other world that exists, and he's facing a decision of whether or not to embrace that world and in his case become a keeper and, you know, save lots of people. So in this book, Song of the Dryad by Natalia Lee, we're following a high school student, a girl in this case, Charlotte, and she's getting glimpses of this other world. In her case it's the Fae, and you know, she's sort of having to face a decision of whether or not to embrace the idea that the Fae are real and what to do about it, and if she's going to help them, you know, save their kingdom. For Charlotte, you're given the space to care about her and her storyline at the beginning of the book. She's a high school student, and there are scenes of her at high school hanging out with her best friend. She's a violin teacher. There are scenes with her teaching violin. There are scenes that set up and build her relationships with her mother and her father and her grandmother. And throughout all those other scenes that are like showing her normal life, you are getting glimpses of the Fae. And then as the story progresses, it becomes more and more and more about the storyline with the Fae, and her normal life, you know, fades into the background. Whereas with Marston's story, every single scene from the very beginning of the book is about the other world. And there's not a normal day scene at all. Like, any of the normal day stuff is just a paragraph of past tense. This is what his family did, you know, when they were moving and unpacking their stuff or whatever. Like, it's all just past tense stuff. And the only scenes that are real scenes are the scenes that are about this other world and his dreams about this other world, and like everything is about the other world. And the reason I think this made it hard to get into is that the first half of the book is this whole buildup of will he or won't he choose to be a keeper. And it's this big decision that he faces halfway through the book. Except it's not really a decision, because as a reader, the only thing we've been seeing is this other world stuff. Like, we haven't seen Marston's normal life or his relationships, so why should we care if he abandons the normal and goes with this other stuff? With Marston, we're not choosing between two things, because there's only one thing that we're shown the entire time. So while Marston is internally wrestling, like, should I do this or not, it just feels kind of hollow and unearned as a reader, because there's no choice to make. And with Charlotte, you can see both sides of the story, and like whether she would choose to help save the Fae or not. Like, you can see what the consequences would be for either choice. That's what I wanted from The Keeper, and that's why it was hard for me to get into it for the first half of the book, because the build up to the decision of becoming a keeper was just not there. Once you hit the halfway mark, it was much less frustrating, because his missions as a keeper, like, all of that tension was, you know, built up fine. It was great. It was just the first half of the book with the will he or won't he, and it's like, well, obviously he will, because there hasn't been a single scene about anything else in this entire book. But overall, I would say that I did enjoy this book. I realized I just went on a long rant, but I did enjoy it.